Okay, picture this for a second. You're standing in a gym. It's like peak hour, so the air smells like iron and rubber and sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And over in the corner by the squat rack, there's a guy who is just an absolute machine. We are talking about someone loading up plates to deadlift, twice his body weight.
Right. The bar is bending.
The bar is bending. The veins in his neck are popping. He lifts it. He locks it out, drops it. Doesn't even look tired. Physically, this guy is bulletproof.
I think we've all seen that guy. He just projects total mastery over his physical environment.
Exactly. But then, and this is the paradox we're wrestling with today, ask that same guy, that unstoppable physical force, to walk 15 feet across the room and just say the word hello to a woman he's interested in.
Uh-oh.
And suddenly, he can't move. That tiny word, 2 syllables, it weighs more than the 500 pounds he just put back on the rack.
It's the ultimate contradiction, isn't it? It just highlights this massive gap between kinetic strength, what your muscles can do, and emotional courage. And honestly, most of us spend a lifetime training the former while, completely neglecting the latter.
That is exactly what we're unpacking today.
Yeah.
We are doing a deep dive into the collection whispers of The Shape of Love by Abdullah Al-Khalifa.
Right.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You see the title, you see love, and you think, okay, is this going to be a romance novel? Is this going to be cheesy?
Well, yeah.
But the source material here is surprisingly analytical. It's not about fireworks and boomboxes. It's about the silence between people.
That's a great distinction.
Mhm.
Al-Khalifa's work is distinct because he treats silence almost like a third character in the room. He argues that the things we don't say often define our lives much more than the things we do. He's writing for people who are willing to look at those, uncomfortable, quiet moments and ask, what is actually happening here?
And we are laser focused on one specific story today.
Mhm.
The Weight We Didn't Lift. It's a story about a guy named Adam, a woman named Lila, and the absolute mess we make when we assume we can read minds. It's basically a case study in how smart people can be so incredibly stupid when feelings are involved.
It's essentially a case study in projection. It's about two people standing in the same room, but they're inhabiting completely different realities.
Right.
They're separated by nothing but air, yet it feels like there is a concrete wall between them.
So let's set the scene properly. We've got Adam. He's the deadlifter I mentioned in the intro. The text describes him as someone who, quote, knew he looked strong.
Okay.
He's diligent. He's at the gym every evening, same time. If you saw him, you would just assume this guy has confidence to spare.
But that's the trap of the external shell, right?
Yeah.
We judge people by their armor, and the text immediately undercuts that image by giving us, like, a VIP pass into his internal monologue.
And inside.
Inside, it's absolute chaos. He isn't just training for the games. He's performing. He is there for Lila.
This part actually made me cringe a little because it felt too real. The story describes him standing in front of the mirror, supposedly checking his form or flexing, but he's actually rehearsing lines.
It's a classic anxiety defense mechanism. He's scripting the interaction. He thinks, if I can just come up with the perfect, casual, witty opening line, I can control the outcome.
Right.
He believes that if the script is perfect, he won't get rejected. But the problem with scripting life is that the other person hasn't read your script.
And every time Lila actually walks by, the script just vanishes. His mind goes blank. Now, I have to ask, why is that? He's a grown man. He's successful enough, fit enough. What is the specific fear? Is it just rejection? I mean, guys get rejected all the time.
I think it's deeper than simple rejection. It's the fear of shattering the fantasy.
Okay.
Psychologically speaking, right now, in the silence, Layla is a possibility. She is Schrodinger's crush, if you will.
Ah, I like that.
As long as he doesn't speak, she might like him. The moment he opens his mouth, he risks collapsing that wave function into a hard no. So he prefers the torture of the maybe over the finality of the no.
So he's choosing to stay in purgatory because he's scared of hell.
Precisely. And he rationalizes it by projecting onto her. Let's look at Lila. I mean, how does Adam see her?
He sees her as this untouchable figure. The description is quiet, effortless beauty. She's got a loose ponytail, she wears wireless earbuds, and she is totally zoned out. The text says she had this power to quiet the chaos around her.
Wireless earbuds. That is such a crucial detail in, a modern social interaction.
It is.
To Adam, those earbuds are a do not disturb sign written in neon lights. He looks at her focus and interprets it as aloofness. He tells himself, she's busy, she's grinding, she wouldn't want to be bothered by a guy like me.
Okay, but hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here. Is it possible she was just busy? I mean, if I'm at the gym with headphones in, I usually do not want to talk about the weather.
That's fair.
Maybe he was just reading the room correctly.
That is a fair point, and it's the logical defense Adam uses to comfort himself. But the story gives us clues that Adam is engaging in what psychologists call pluralistic ignorance.
Okay, unpack that. Pluralistic ignorance.
It's when a group of people, they all privately reject a norm, but they incorrectly assume that most others accept it, and therefore they just go along with it. In this context, it means Adam assumes Lila's silence is due to confidence and disinterest. Meanwhile, Layla, as we find out later, is silent for her own reasons.
So he thinks, I'm silent because I'm terrified. She's silent because she's too cool for this.
Exactly. He feels invisible. But physically, remember, he's a large man moving very heavy weights. It is highly unlikely he is actually invisible to anyone in that room.
Yeah, that's true.
But because he feels small internally, he assumes he appears small externally.
So this stalemate goes on for months. Months. Just glancing in mirrors, putting headphones in, taking them out, never saying a word. And then the universe decides to test him. Enter Tariq.
The catalyst. Yes, every story needs a foil, and Tariq is the perfect foil for Adam.
Tariq is the worst, well, maybe not the worst person, but he's the worst case scenario for Adam. The text describes him as loud, smooth, and confident.
Ugh.
He's the guy who high-fives everyone between sets. He's basically the mayor of the gym.
He takes up space. Adam tries to minimize his presence. Tariq expands his. Tariq broadcasts his existence. And the devastating moment comes when Layla walks in, not alone, but holding Tariq's hand.
That is a gut punch.
Yeah.
You watch the person you've been mentally dating for 6 months walk in with the loudest guy in the room.
It is. But I want to pause on Adam's reaction here, because this is where Al Khalifa writes something really insightful about a specific type of male vulnerability.
Okay.
You might expect Adam to be angry. You might expect him to think, oh, she only likes the jerks, or she's shallow.
Right. The typical toxic nice guy narrative. I respected her space, I was a gentleman, and she goes for the loudmouth.
But he doesn't go there. The story explicitly says Adam felt no anger. Instead, he feels resignation. A knot in the chest, sure, but he validates his own insecurity. He sees them together and thinks, see, I was right. I'm not what she wanted. She wanted loud. She wanted confident. I am not that.
He uses his heartbreak to prove his own negative hypothesis. That is so self-destructive.
It is, but it's also easier than admitting he made a mistake by waiting. If he tells himself, I never had a chance, it hurts less than I had a chance and I blew it.
Wow.
So he takes the L gracefully, but it just destroys him internally. The spark for training dies. He stops seeing the gym as a place of potential and starts seeing it as a graveyard of what could have been.
And then Layla disappears. She stops coming. Tariq stops coming. The chapter ends. And honestly, if the book stopped there, it would be a pretty depressing look at hesitation.
Totally. He who hesitates is lost. End of story. Thanks for coming.
But life and this story rarely moves in a straight line. We get a time jump several months later, and the setting shifts entirely. We are out of the gym.
Yes. We're in a cafe now. It's a rainy night. The atmosphere changes from fluorescent lights and clanging metal to rain against glass and the smell of coffee. It's moody.
The environment is softer, and that's important. The gym is a place of performance, of watching and being watched. The cafe is a place for, observation and conversation.
Right.
Adam is sitting there, exhausted, just watching the storm blur the windows.
And a voice behind him says, I used to see you at the gym.
And note who breaks the silence. It's not the strong man.
No, it's Lila.
Adam turns around, and there she is. She's in a half-soaked hoodie, cheeks pink from the cold. She looks real, not the idealized goddess in the squat rack, but a person standing in the rain.
And Adam is shocked. He stammers out, I remember.
And then she drops the first bomb. She says, I always hoped you'd talk to me.
Wait, pause. I hoped you'd talk to me.
Yeah.
That completely rewrites the history of the last 6 months. It shatters Adam's reality.
He asks the question we're all thinking. You noticed me. And her answer is beautiful. She says, every day, I admired your focus. You seemed different.
This is the irony, isn't it? Adam thought his silence made him invisible.
Right.
Lila noticed him specifically because of that silence. She saw focus. She saw calm in a chaotic room.
This is the spotlight effect working in reverse. Adam thought the spotlight was on his inadequacy. Lila saw a spotlight on his discipline.
She interpreted his lack of, bro behavior, his lack of high-fiving everyone as depth. She thought he was serious and grounded.
We have to address the elephant in the room, or the Tariq in the room, because Adam, being a logical guy, asks, what about Tariq?
And Lila's explanation here is the core of this deep dive. This is where the psychology gets messy and real. She says, I was trying to move on from you. It didn't work. We weren't right for each other.
Hang on. I need to process this. She gated the loud, confident guy to get over the quiet guy she never actually spoke to?
Yeah.
That sounds a little dysfunctional, or at least unfair to Tariq.
It's messy, yes, but it's deeply human. Think about it from Lila's perspective. She sees this guy, Adam. She likes him. He never approaches her. He never smiles. He never says hello. What is the logical conclusion for her?
That he's not interested? Or maybe that he's arrogant and thinks he's too good for everyone?
Exactly. She interprets his silence as rejection. She thinks, okay, he doesn't want me. I need to stop engaging in this fantasy. I need to date someone who actually shows interest.
So she goes for the polar opposite. She dates the volume because the silence was giving her nothing.
She dates the noise to drown out the silence. Tariq was a reaction to Adam. She tried to force a connection with someone who was available, because the connection she felt with Adam seemed impossible.
We weren't right for each other.
Wow, that admission is huge. It implies that the loud, performative confidence of Tariq was just empty calories.
It looked good, it was shiny, but it wasn't nutritious.
Right. And Adam realizes in this moment that his competition wasn't Tariq. His competition was his own silence. The only thing standing between him and Lila wasn't another man. It was the words he didn't say.
It brings us to the resolution of the scene. Adam smiles, maybe for the first time in the story regarding her, and admits, maybe we both lacked confidence.
He levels the playing field. He stops putting her on a pedestal and acknowledges that she was struggling too. And Layla's response just ties the whole metaphor together.
What does she say?
She says, maybe, but perhaps now. We've lifted enough to embrace this moment.
We've listed enough. That brings us right back to the source material's title and the quote that everyone highlights from this story. Some weights we lift with our bodies, others with our hearts.
It's the central thesis of the story. Physical strength is visible, it's measurable, and frankly, it's easier to attain. You put in the reps, you eat the protein, you get the gains. It's linear.
Yeah.
Emotional strength, vulnerability, that is heavy. And the tricky part is you can't deadlift your way out of loneliness.
The heart weights. I like that. The weight of saying, I like you. The weight of risking a weird, awkward silence. That stuff is heavy because the risk is so personal. If you fail a deadlift, you just drop the bar.
Right.
If you fail a confession of love, you feel like you are the failure.
And here's the other key difference. Unlike the gym where you can train with headphones on and ignore the world, lifting heart weights requires a spotter. You have to do it with someone. Adam tried to carry the burden of his feelings alone, and it crushed him. It was only when he shared the load, or rather, when Lila forced him to share it, that the weight became manageable.
It really aligns with what we know about the author, Abdullah al-Khalifa. In the author notes, he talks about how love isn't about the boombox outside the window moments.
Right. His philosophy is that true connection is felt, not forced. The relationship with Tariq was forced, it was public, it was standard, it followed the rules of dating. The connection with Adam was felt, it was quiet, almost subterranean, but it was the one that lasted.
The story also serves as a bit of a warning, doesn't it? I mean, let's be real, they got lucky. They had their rainy night in the cafe.
Yeah.
But how many Adams and Laylas just drift apart?
That is the terrifying part of the analysis. Most of the time, there is no cafe. You just stop seeing the person. The silent wall remains up forever. The story ends happily, but the subtext is a warning. Silence is safe, but silence is sterile. Nothing grows there.
Sterile. That's a good word for it. You're safe from rejection, but you're also safe from connection.
And Layla had to break the pattern. And notice, she challenges gender norms there too. Adam thought he had to be the man and initiate.
Right.
Layla realized that waiting for the man to initiate was making her miserable, so she took agency. She realized that if she wanted the weight lifted, she had to grab the other end of the bar.
So if we're pulling the actionable insights out of this story, beyond just talk to your gym crush, which is easier said than done, what are we looking at?
I think the biggest takeaway is to question your assumptions about other people's internal states. We tend to assume everyone else is confident, busy, and judgmental.
We assume everyone else is a Tariq.
Right. We assume they are operating from a place of strength and certainty. But usually, they're just as insecure, just as hopeful, and just as terrified of looking stupid as we are.
And we assume silence is neutral. But this story shows that silence is active. Silence sends a signal. To Lila, Adam's silence was a broadcast message that said, stay away.
Exactly. If you don't control the narrative by speaking, the other person will invent a narrative for you. And usually that invented narrative is worse than the truth. Human beings are terrible at guessing, but we are great at inventing worst-case scenarios.
So volume does not equal value. Just because the Tariqs of the world are loud doesn't mean they have what you need. But, and this is the kicker, you have to be willing to break the silence to find out what the quiet people are holding.
And you have to be willing to be weak. Adam had to admit he was scared. Lila had to admit she was waiting. That vulnerability is the only way to lift the weight. You have to drop the armor.
It's funny, we started this deep dive talking about deadlifts and PRs, and we ended up analyzing the philosophy of vulnerability and communication theory.
That is usually how it goes with Al Khalifa's work. The physical world is just a metaphor for the internal one. I mean, if you can lift 400 pounds but can't tell someone how you feel, are you actually strong or are you just heavy?
That is the question. Listen, if this conversation hit a nerve, if you've ever been the guy rehearsing lines in the mirror or the girl wondering why he won't look at you, you need to check out the full collection.
It's Whispers of the Shape of Love by Abdullah Al Khalifa. It's available on Amazon Kindle, and it's perfect for anyone who prefers stories that are, honest and reflective rather than just dramatic. It's a quick read, but it stays with you.
We'll put the link in the description. Grab a coffee, find a rainy window, and give it a read. Just maybe look up from the pages every once in a while to see who's standing there.
You never know who might be waiting for you to say hello.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to tap on. We talked about the weights we lift with our hearts.
It's the image that sticks with you.
So, here is my challenge to you. Think about the weights you are currently carrying in silence right now. Maybe it's a conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's a feeling you haven't admitted to yourself. Maybe it's a person you're watching from across the room.
The heavy stuff.
And ask yourself this, is that weight heavy because it's actually too much for you to handle? Or is it only heavy because you are trying to lift it alone?
Sometimes all you need is a spotter.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.